She emancipated from foster care at 19, spent many of her adolescent years in group homes and transitional housing placement programs. Sade was active, truly active, meaningfully active in many youth advocacy organizations and projects such as California Youth Connection, the California Youth Project, and the Sexually Exploited Minors Network. She's been featured in the San Francisco Chronicle and Essence magazine, a nationally published magazine. She was the recipient of the Youth Score Award. Want to know what that is? You better ask Sade. And she was inducted into the Alameda County Women's Hall of Fame. Go Sade. She served as president in her senior year of college. She became the pre-alumni president of the National Council for the United Negro College Fund. And that was her final year in becoming first-generation graduate from Philander Smith College with a Bachelor of Social Work degree. So now let me tell you why I'm really here. Because I've had the pleasure of knowing Sade during part of her recent journey. There's a long journey, and there's much that comprises Sade and who she is that I really haven't been a part of, but I have very much been inspired by her force of will and right. She is the most determined and dynamic individual I know. She is really eloquent in outlook and speech. She shares creative reflections. She's very creative. She shares inspiration, she advocates, and she does this in everyday moments and interactions in a kind of unpredictable and fun way. She's real and kind of struggles with things, and that's when that wonderful stuff comes out. She is undeterred, and I really want to emphasize that. Absolutely undeterred in working toward a better world and a better future, both for herself and for all of us. She lives and works each day to give back to others and speak for what she believes is right. She is a can-do, actually I need to say she is a will-do person. She brings a strong sense of compassion, fairness, and equity every step of the way. And she's just determined and undeterred in seeking that which is right and that which is moving forward and that which is where things need to be. She's the perfect spokesperson for this summit because she is in her own self naturally so focused on promoting educational equity and ensuring success, which is really the purpose of what we're focusing on in this year's summit, is educational equity. You've heard Judge Stacy talk about that, and ensuring success for California's foster children and youth from cradle to college. And
so appreciative of Crystal, and it's amazing for her to be up here and say those words about me, because I remember when I met her, I was so nervous about what I was going to do with my life. I believe I was around 17 or 18, and I had been flirting with the idea of college, and it was her kind of pushing it to where it came into fruition. It was like, oh no, you don't just flirt with that, you can actually do that. So, she's one of the very amazing women that I actually have in my life, and I truly appreciate you for coming up here and saying that for me. And I also have to thank Jackie Wong, who actually invited me here. Very amazingly, I actually liked Crystal when I met her. I didn't like Jackie when I met her. I was way younger, I was 15, and I just thought she was pure evil. But she stuck it out with me all these years, so I truly appreciate her and love her to death. I'm very honored to be here. There's actually information about me in that bio, and I guess I just want to give you guys a more holistic story, because that's a very pretty bio, and it's actually a pretty picture in here too. But,
Go you.
As we all know, life gets in the way, and our stories aren't always that pretty or easy. And for the youth in this room, you know especially that those stories don't come that easily. I kind of want to start off towards the beginning, because I want to make sure that you all have context to where I come from. I was born in Oakland, and I was raised half of my life by my grandmother. And I kind of want to start at 5, because before, even though I wasn't in care, my mother was a drug addict, and when I was 6 months, she gave me up. My grandmother got me out of care immediately. So I lived with her, but it wasn't a good environment. My grandmother had 6 of her grandkids, so none of her kids really took care of their kids, so she had them all, so it was really hard on her. But when I was 5, I developed this love for reading. So I want you guys all to understand that I've always been a learner. I've loved knowledge. I love to learn. And I actually get to perform a poem today, and you'll learn. I learned to read when I was 5, watching Hooked on Phonics. So it kind of made sense to me fairly quickly. So it opened this world up to me, because I was living technically in poverty. My grandmother, she didn't have enough to take care of all of us. There was days when we didn't have food. It was sporadic, but we didn't always have. But one of the things that I constantly had were books. So I became this learner, this knowledge seeker. So that's what I was. So I kind of want to paint that for you, because once we introduce the student, it's a completely different person. You see, because when I entered school, it wasn't the same. I didn't feel as welcome. The books welcomed me, but when I went to school, it was different. You see, I was bullied when I was younger. I was bullied probably from the 2nd grade all the way to the 8th grade. There was always somebody picking on me, and it was primarily because we were poor, and you could tell we were poor. You know, you come to school, clothes dirty, things like that. So I was always bullied. So I want to create this for you, because even though it's before I got into care, I always had this interesting relationship with school, which was I hated it. So, I never felt safe. I never felt comfortable. And because of that, that completely stifled any learning that I was going to do. I didn't go to school and learn. I never did homework. Every teacher that I've had up until the 10th grade can attest to that. I never did homework. They still passed me, but I never did it. So here we are. I still love to learn, but I hate school. And it really doesn't mix with each other. So, and then it continues. It got worse. When I was in the 4th grade, no lie, to Marcus Foster Elementary in West Oakland, I was attacked by over 50 students there, and nobody did anything. No teachers helped. No yard duties helped. And when the situation ended, there was still no type of retribution or no type of suspensions, nothing to even address the situation. So again, I'm continuing to feel unsafe at school. And then we continue on. So I'm continuing these years, and I'm still in school, and I'm never liking it, and I'm never doing anything. And then the 8th grade comes around. And in the 8th grade, I entered foster care. I moved in with my mother from staying with my grandmother, trying to give it a chance, and my mother relapsed back onto drugs literally 9 months after I moved in with her. So I was placed in foster care, foster home, and my world just completely changed. I did not understand what was going on. I mean, one minute I'm staying with my mom, the next minute I'm staying with this random lady that I don't know from anything, and she was a little on the mean side, and I didn't understand what her problem was. So it's a new world for me, and I still have this horrible relationship with school, but now I'm going to school, and it's like, I don't really understand why I'm here anymore. And I'll never forget it because I had an 8th grade physical science teacher, and he noticed that I was sleeping a lot in class. And although when I was younger and I lived with my grandmother, me and my cousins, we would sneak into the cafeteria, get some food and take it home with us, nobody took the time to understand we were hungry. That's the reason why we did it, but we always got in trouble for things like that. When I got into the 8th grade, it got a little worse. It got to the point where I was kind of consistently doing things like that. Like at this point they sell food. So, I steal some. Just to take with me, just in case I got hungry, because I noticed that sometimes our foster mom didn't cook. So my physical science teacher, he said, I noticed that you've been having problems, and I noticed that you've been sleeping in my class, and I noticed that you're doing less homework than you usually do. And I told him, I recently entered a foster home, and I don't know if that's why, but I don't feel right. And I'll never forget, because he responded, I hope things get better for you, and he patted me on my back, and he walked away. And I thought, can I get a different response? Can I get do you need me to talk to somebody? Is there something that I can do for you? That was it. So when I was in the 8th grade, something was planted into my mind, and it was that school may not have as much value as people say it does. Because now it's not just that I don't feel safe. It's not just that I don't feel comfortable. Now, my livelihood feel like it's being jeopardized, and nobody at school seems to care. But this was just an idea. I didn't fully develop that. It was just a thought, maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe there are other things that's more important for me. It was just a thought then. But once I entered the 9th grade year and I entered group homes, that thought became actions. That was real. School was not important. Because at this time, I was living in group homes where I literally had to fight almost every night. Where there were no meals. Usually I had to literally cuss a staff member out to get something to eat, or I had to go in somebody's wallets and purses, or pick up the trade of pickpocketing to get a meal. So here I am in the 9th grade, and I don't go to school, and I don't participate in anything that they're doing, but mind you, on the other hand, I'm still a learner. You see, so even though I'm going through all of these years of not paying attention in school and not being comfortable, when I did school, there were 2 places that you can find me, either the library or Barnes & Noble. I still read, to the point where if you tested me with the other students, I would either match their scores or beat them, especially in English and literature. I'm still a learner. I still love knowledge, but I feel like there's no cultivation happening at school, so why am I there? And it was interesting because I learned to read when I was 5. From 6 to 7, I was trying to get into chapter books. I was really trying to develop fairly fast. From 7 to 8, I got into nonfictions and biographies. I got really interested in other people's lives. From 9 to 10, I walked over to the self-help section, and it just became, I became anew. And it was interesting because at the time, I didn't have parenting. There was nobody teaching me certain essential things in life. So I would get these tools from these books, Be the Best You, and I read it, and it's like, okay, it's saying what a parent should be saying to me. So essentially, these books became my parents. Unfortunately, you don't hear a book as loudly as you would an actual person, but they helped me in those bits. And then when I was 11, I accidentally snuck into the romance section, and I haven't been the same since. So I'm still a learner. I still love to learn. I still read everything that I can get my hands on. Dictionaries, Scientology books, things that I don't even believe in. I just want to know. But it was not being cultivated at school at all. In fact, the days that I did go to school in the 9th grade, I usually fought. And it got so bad to the point where one time I might have accidentally threw a chair at a teacher. I'm sorry. I just felt like I don't know, I had to take it out on somebody, and the teacher was the focal point once. And so after that, I was DHP, that's the discipline hearing panel, where they kick you out of school. And their attempt for me was to kick me out of the entire district of Oakland. And so I thought it was interesting, because when I got the notice that that's what they were doing, when I saw hearing, I'm thinking, oh, that's lawyer. And I had just read this LSAT prep book at Barnes & Noble, so I'm thinking, oh, I'm about to go lawyer. So my whole goal was to go into this hearing and beat the case. That was it. Now, mind you, I didn't want to go back to school. I just wanted to prove my point that I could win. So I went to this DHP, and they